Emperor Constantine to Christianity.
He effectively begins the widespread conversion to the Christian faith.
But this miraculous vision was just a legend. Until this man claimed to have found down-to-earth proof of this world-changing event. Now, we investigate the evidence sent from the heavens. Fireball of Christ. July 15, new to National Geographic Channel.
The engine assembly area is comprised of 2 separate lines, each with 15 to 20 technicians working on over 35,000 engines a year. Assembly line 1 fits the crankshaft and gearbox into the bottom end of the engine. Assembly line 2 fits the top end and sides of the engine, including the pistons, cylinders, cylinder heads and clutch. Now comes the toughest, most dangerous part of a rescue mission. Especially in bad weather and bad visibility, a chopper is at its most vulnerable in the hover. Another job for the avionics.
With the old generation of helicopters, we had to use the collective, the cyclic and the pedals to position the helicopter at 50 feet and 0 knots over the survivor. With this helicopter, it's hands-off. No pedals, no hands. You don't have to do anything else, just look at the monitor and check that it follows the instructions.
It's much safer, because like a fighter plane's avionics, the 139's computer can react much faster than a human pilot to every gust of wind. The rescue team does need to take some control to drop their diver where he's needed. But Salvatore still doesn't get to fly his helicopter himself.
Once we get to the survivor, the pilot hands over control of the helicopter to me. With this winch trim, I can control the helicopter to take it exactly above the person in the water. I have a wider view with the door open, so I've got a much better chance of seeing the survivor and putting the helicopter in the right position.
I don't do many interviews, but when I was invited to speak about Jack Carter, my friend, I couldn't resist.
Most people are very surprised that a CV could incorporate the red shoes in the late 40s and Rambo in the 80s.
Every time I saw certain names, and one of the names kept popping up was Cardiff. Every time I saw these names, I knew I was in for something very, very special.
He started very early in color. Started about when they started doing color, I believe.
But I used to put on this big act and say, I think I put a bit more green here, a little less blue there, and they believed it. They thought I was creating color with the camera. It's terrific stuff.
He worked with many of the greatest filmmakers in the world.
Having worked with him, I think Jack is probably the greatest color photographer that ever lived.
There are not that many that are that good. Jack Carter was one of the rare ones.
This is when I became like an amateur enthusiast. Like you collect stamps. I collected beautiful women, photographically, of course.
How do you get an idea that hits you here, an image that hits you here, and then you have to translate it through this piece of equipment?
Jack Carter is an amazing guy.
Instead of going home after school or college or whatever and hanging about in your area, you can go to the skate park.
It gives you something to look forward to all the time, no matter what.
In my future I want to be like Tony Hawk. I think the lesson that I learned through years of skating is the value of perseverance.
We just practice and practice and practice. Yeah. We just have fun, and that's why we do it.
Anyone that says that skating is a bad influence for kids, they just haven't looked deep enough into skating.
If I was a skater, I'll be involved with all the street crowds, all the gangs.
Hide behind gang loyalties.
When the young are struck down, it is high profile, and it gives a disturbing picture.